I play Frontline, so this is sort of my area of expertise. Something that's really important with Frontline weapons is, first of all, to get your aim on. And that's just something that is going to take time. But, like, because you're a Frontliner, you're going to be at more extreme angles to your opponents than you are as a backliner. Like, just look at how much I have to turn my aim to keep my reticle on this target as it moves by me, because I'm so close to it. I have to go almost 180 degrees because I'm up close to it. If I were to back up and be using, like, a charger, I would only have to move it like this much, which is maybe, like, 45 degrees to keep it all the way on, all the way across, right? So that's something that you will need to work on. You need to be able to scramble really well. Short-range weapons, especially shooters, are able to zip around like this a lot. They tend to be more mobile. So learning things like how to ledge cancel, which is what I just did there. Learning things like how to substrafe, to change your momentum, to be able to get up over ledges quickly. All of that stuff is going to be really beneficial, specifically for your weapon class, even more than other weapon classes. Another thing strategically about this weapon class is that cover is your best friend. Because if you have an open sightline against the charger wins that every time. You have to just get so much closer to them before you can hit them, and they one-shot you if they hit a single shot in that time, before you ever have a chance. But if you're right on top of the charger, and they're in between charge, now you have more consistent DPS and maneuverability to make them miss their tap shots, and you have a better fight against them at that point. So your job is to close distance against other weapons, and the way that you do that against the weapon that outranges you is by keeping a box in between you and them until you want to pop out and shoot them. So like, let's say I'm right here and I want to approach that target on the right. Instead of approaching it by going this way and being across open ground, what I want to do is I want to cut the sightline as quickly as I possibly can, and then either approach them maybe from up here and do something like this, or I want to get behind the cover and then peek out of them from there. Now, on a more macro scale, and this is something that you really more have to talk about in the context of a rank mode, your job is to understand what your team currently controls, and when you have the advantage, when you have a good situation, either that you can win a fight conclusively, and you know you can, or that your team is just up a player or something, it is your job to push the enemy team further backwards so that your team can advance further in the direction that they want to push. Let's take tower control for an example, because tower control, it's really easy to illustrate what I'm talking about here. In tower control, the tower needs to move on a set path marked by this line from one side of the map to the other. In order for your team to be able to push the tower, there needs to not be anyone who is going to splat the tower rider as the tower moves into that position. So right here, for example, as the tower rider, I'm worried about people who are standing here. I'm worried about people who are standing here. If you want to push the tower through there safely, there needs to be some kind of pressure that is denying the enemy team from standing in those two places to shoot at the tower. That pressure comes from you. A backline weapon is more limited in the positions that they are able to take because of their limited maneuverability, and the fact that their advantage derives from having range, not from having faster DPS or anything like that most of the time. So you, as a frontline weapon, are best suited to being the person who pushes them out of those positions. So once the tower starts moving, your job is to be like pushing in here and trying to shoot at these people, maybe, so that the tower can advance and not have to worry about being shot by somebody else because they're already shooting at you instead. And hopefully you're winning that fight while you do it. That's basically the job of a frontliner, to get the opponents off of this line further ahead of the tower so that once the tower does get there, all the guy who's standing on the tower needs to do is stand on the tower and not, like, cower in fear behind this pole and try and, like, paint his feet and move around and all of that. The ideal tower push is one in which the tower rider fires no shots and gets shot at never. Never has to paint their feet or anything like that. So the best frontline players are the ones who are going to create those advantages for their team so that the objective is playable in advance of when the objective actually gets there.